Right, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome back to another lesson with me. I'm your host Abdul Rahman, and today our focus will be on test number 4 of G.C.E.O level paper. As you can see, test number 4 of G.C.E.O level paper is what we are going to start today. Let us go straight into the work. When you want to speak about or when you want to discuss an activity, specifically test number 4 in G.C.E.O level, you should understand that it has a lot to do with your reading capabilities. So remember that. If you can read well, it means that you can do a lot of things in this case as well. So remember, my dear children, if you can understand this stuff, reading has to do with your ability to take a text, whatever that it is, and then go through the work that you want to do and go through the reading materials as well. Now let's start with a very basic concept. In this case, straight away, test number 4 does not require you to read a lot of stuff. I mean, it does not want you to read a paragraph or a text or an essay of any of that types. What you are expected to read is very simple stuff, such as, let us take some examples here, such as notes or notices. When you want to say like notes and notices, you can say like these are quite simple stuff to you. This might be. And then what else is there? Right, something like pages of content. That is another stuff. Wait, let me make it a bit larger. And some other stuff such as like headings, then newspaper clippings, then short signs, warnings, then something like instructions, these sort of things. Now if you want to go through each of these stuff normally, I think it's better that I take each of these headings and go through what is given there and what you are expected to do in each of these things separately. Now my dear students, regarding notes and notices, I would do a separate lesson on those for the lesson. I take like 1 hour or something like that to do a lesson on notes and notices, so don't worry. So I'm not going to discuss these two stuff today, right? So notes and notices are not our concern today. I'm not going to discuss them today. Pages of content, right? Pages of content, let's go through that. Now, classically, if you go to your internet, let's go to internet and then let's open a new page. I'm just going to type like content page, and if you type content pages here, and I'm going to go to an image just to make it clear for you, right? If you take this particular image, let's say let's open it in a new tab, right? Now look at this content page. Now if you want to look at this content page, you can see that they have a list of figures, list of tables, acknowledgement, abstract, introduction, these sort of things, and they have given you a page number as well, right, on the side. Now what is this essentially? Essentially, if you would like to go through the stuff again, you will be able to understand that these things are essentially what you get in your book. Now if I type here again, I can type something else like this, content page of a book. I can show you that as well here. Content pages of a book, right? If you take a classical content page that you can find in any of these English books, right? Let's take this. This will look a bit better. I'm going to open it in a new tab, right? Now look at this content page. Now if you look at this content page, which may not be that clear to you, I'll open it a bit more so that it will be easier for you to understand. But anyway, you have your interaction here, and they have given you what interaction is. For example, why this book will make a difference in your life. That is what is related to interaction. If you take chapter number 6, have a wonderfully productive life. So this is your content pages. Usually whatever the book that you have, if you take any book that you have, it can be your normal book, or if you have something else like an English book with you right now, you will be able to see that the beginning of the page you will have your forward and stuff like the message that is given by the author, and the next has all the contents. For example, chapter 1, what is there? Let's say chapter 1 is to do with introduction, usually introduction to your book. And then let's say like for chapter 2 they have given you something like this, chapter 2, something like let's say school reopens. If you read novels, you would understand that what content pages are. So essentially you should know, if you give something like this, let's say that after the end of the pandemic, the students started to come back to schools, right? Now let's say this is your statement that is given here, and let's say for example you have two chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2. Now if I ask you after the end of the pandemic, when the pandemic is over, for example right now we are facing a pandemic which is COVID-19, the students started to come back to schools. Let's say this is the statement given to you on one side, and on the other side you have two headings, which is introduction and school reopens. Okay, now what happens in this case is, if you simply want to match with the headings, what heading or what particular chapter would you choose? You would understand that you cannot use this for introduction, because it has nothing to do with introduction, but it has to do with your school reopens chapter, right? So that is how you do the matching activities. When you go through the perspective discussion, you will be able to understand that. Now headings is similar to that, where you have several headings, and that is how you match. Newspaper clippings. If you read newspapers, let's take a newspaper for example. Right, let's go to internet again and let's take a newspaper for you. For example, let's say like we have our Daily Mirror in Sri Lanka, right? Right, let's go to Daily Mirror and let's open an image so that we can see an image of Daily Mirror. Right, let's open this in a new tab. Right, let's say this is the particular image that we want to open or we want to see in this case. Right, it takes time to load, but anyway, if you just look at this mirror, you will understand that, or if you want to read that, you will understand this particular stuff. I'm going to reset it so that all of you can read. Right, now look at this, the first one. Government declares 3-day holiday till Thursday. Now this is a paper from 17th March, which is yesterday's paper. Right, now let's take another heading. COVID-19 cases rise to 28. Okay, COVID-19 cases rise to 28. Now this particular heading may be given on one side, okay, and then on the right side you might be given a statement like this. The total number of COVID-19 infected locals stood at 28. Okay, the total number of COVID-19 infected locals stood at 28. This is given as a statement on one side, and on the other side they have given me two headings. The first heading is COVID-19 cases rise to 28, and let's say the second heading is 60 families in Puttalam under house arrest. Now what is the most suitable heading for this particular paragraph? You obviously know that, as it has to do with COVID-19, and here also in the heading you have COVID-19, these two should match, isn't it? So that is how you come across this particular stuff. Short signs. Short signs, essentially, if you go on the road, you might see there are a lot of traffic signs, right? And also there are some signs in your library or schools in these days which says that wash your hands, isn't it? And then you might also get something like keep or like maintain your social distance, right? So these are different type of very short signs, or you can say instructions. And on the other hand, maybe this is given to you in one side, and let's say that on the other side you are given something like this. Let's take an example. Right, maybe this is your A, we can say like A, and let's say this is your B. Right, and let's say here we have given you two headings or two structures. One is safety, let's say FE, precautions, and the second one, let's assume that they have given you road accidents. Now these are the two particular words that are given to you, and these are the answers given to you in this case. Now if I ask you to match these things, you will definitely say, sir, whatever, wash your hands has nothing to do with your road accident stuff, right? So you would say that wash your hands is to do with safety precautions. So this would be your matching activity. Maintain your social distance is also to do with your safety precautions activity, right? Right. Now let's say some warnings. I think it's better if I like show you some live warnings here. Let's say like warning road signs, right? These are some signs that you find on the road. You might have seen a lot of signs such as this, or if I write say warnings such as this, right? These are all different type of warning signs. Let's take a classical one, right? Now this is a warning that I want to speak about today. I'm going to open this in a new tab so that you might be able to see all this stuff, right? Right. This is the warning sign is given to you. If you take packets of cigarettes, or if you might have seen different alcohol bottles, you might see that they have given you a warning such as alcohol is a drug. Regular drinking can make you dependent on it. Alcohol is a leading risk factor for disease, death and disability. Now my dear children, let's say that you are given something similar to this. On the other side you might be given two headings. The first one says food, the second one says alcohol. So remember, in this case you will obviously choose what? Alcohol, because alcohol is that is what it is related to in this case. So that is how you go through your activity when it comes to warning, and instructions also has a similar prototype or similar type, right? Let's go to your work for today. I'm going to start with 2016 paper. In this case, my dear children, you can go through this activity slowly. If you have your O-level papers, it's no problem, you can just go through that. But anyway, if you don't have, I'll put the link in the description below later, and also like I will type your my particular website here so that you can go and download from there and get all these activities there as well. Right, let's go straight into the work. Right, test number 4 says match the extracts with the heading. Now I told you, for example, earlier, when you took your when you took your newspaper earlier, you would see that in that case you have your headings on one side and extract on the other side. Can you remember that we showed you like COVID-19 patients rise to 128 or something? That was your heading, and the extract was something similar to a few patients of COVID-19 were identified somewhere. So that is what is given in these two structures here. Right. Now let's look at the example which is given here. Pollution and traffic make people leave the cities to live in the countryside. Now my dear children, before we go through this activity, remember to read what is asked from you. In test number 4, you have to match the extracts with the headings, and they have told you how to match as well. Write the correct letter in the blanks provided. So if you just think that this is A, B, C, D, E, F, you know these letters, do not write capital letters here. No, don't do that. Write the same simple letter here. Number 1. Number 2, do not write the numbers. For example, you may write number 1 here, number 2 here, number 3 here. Don't do that as well. Or don't try to write the whole heading in this blank, because you can't do that. It's impossible. It's too big. The headings are too big for such a small space. So for example, if your answer is E, do not write a great escape starting from here all the way up to here. Don't do that. The most easiest method is just write E or F or something like that. But you might or you might not sometimes do a matching activity. So what is matching activity? You may take an extract from here and draw a line. For example, from here to E, you may draw a line and then say that okay, you have matched it. That was also accepted back in 2016, but right now we don't do these things. We don't draw lines from particular answer to a question. We don't do that. So simply to avoid any sort of a delusion or any sort of a confusion, better do what is given to you. What should you do? Write the correct letter in the blanks provided. Okay, so the blank that is given here is quite small and it is adequate enough for just one letter in English, right? Let's start with the first one, obviously with the example. Usually in most of the activities or the tests given in 2016, 17, 18, 19, all these years, what has been done to you or made easier for you is one particular answer is given, which means the first one or the first answer is done for you. When the first one is done for you, you are expected to follow the same routine. For example, they have written a simple letter E, so you have to write in a similar method. For example, you can write here B, C, D, F, whatever, that is the answer, but follow the same format, right? So remember that if you get something in italic in your heading, this is what we call as an italic font because it is italicized, which means it's slanted. This italicized font means that an example is done for you. Let's go through. Right. What is a heading and what is an extract? I'll give you an example here. I'm going to go through headings and extract one more time. Right. Now, let's say that I'm going to take heading and extract here. Let's say that, right, okay. This health warning. Now, if you take this particular health warning, I'm going to take this. Right. If you take this health warning, you can see that what is the heading here? Warning, that is a heading. What is the extract here? Whatever if you take from here, it becomes an extract. For example, drinking distilled spirits, that may be one extract. Beverages may increase cancer risk, that may be another extract. Can cause birth defects, may be another extract, right? So extract and headings are usually in the same format or same paragraph. To make it much easier, I'm going to say like something like this. Let's take a newspaper, right? I'm going to take something that's right, related to Sri Lanka in this case. Right, I'm going to open image, new window. I don't think, yes, it's quite small, so right, I'll close it. Open image in new tab, right, that's also quite small, isn't it? Right. Let's take this particular block so that we may read something out of it. Right, in this case, let's say if you take this particular stuff, you will see in Daily News 2018 March 27, mitigating corruption is possible. This is your heading. Whatever the small passages given on both sides, these are related to the heading. So if you take one sentence from this particular area, you will call that as an extract in this case, right? Let's go through here. Pollution and traffic make people leave the city to live in the countryside. Now if you take your town for example, especially some urban areas such as Kandy or Colombo, Gampaha, Kurnagala, these sort of places in Sri Lanka, you will find that there is lot of vehicles here and there are lots and lots of people living in this area, and you might also find there is lot of smoke from the vehicles and there is sound pollution. You will hear a lot of people honking and people shouting and stuff like that. So all these things come under pollution, right? Sometimes you may not get very clean water, clean food may not be available. So remember, pollution and traffic make people leave the cities. So what would they do is they will leave these cities and go and live in the countryside, such as a village side. Okay, so if you live in a village, usually you don't find all of these problems. So it is to do with what? A great escape. A great escape. So escape in Tamil, what is the word that you use for escape? You may find that in your dictionary. Escape is to leave a place and go without getting caught. leave a place and go somewhere and you don't get caught. For example, the robber escaped from the thieves. Okay, so escape is to do with that. So if you don't know the meaning of escape, children, write it down somewhere. So the corresponding letter is E, so you have marked E here. Second, a group of art students will hold an exhibition of their paintings at the National Gallery on Saturday. So who are holding this exhibition? A group of art students. If I ask you something like this, where are they holding the exhibition? National Gallery on Saturday. Now if you take this, it has to do with art students, it has to do with their creativity, their talent. So you can see it has to do with what? Their painting. It is talent to draw. Now if you take your headings, the only heading that will match is Young Talent Show. Because when you speak about students, students are usually young. Most of the time, the students are young people. So the first stuff that should come to your mind is young, and painting is to do with drawing, creativity and those sort of stuff. So it will be talent. So we will say a young talent show. So the matching heading is A here, right? Now the second one, those who go on camping trips. Those who go on camping trips must not harm Mother Nature. You will see that you or sometimes your friends or somebody you know will go on camping trips. They will take some tents, or you might take some tents and some food to cook. You may go into a jungle or a clearing or a forest or somewhere remote or some village area, and then you will cook in that area, and then you spend your night there in your tents. You will have sing songs, then tell stories, play games outdoor, and you will spend some days on this particular place or field and come back. So these trips, we call them as camping trips. We go and stay in the wild, or in this case not in your house or not in somebody's house, but in the open garden or on the open field. So when you go to these places, one of the most important thing that you should understand is, do not go and damage the stuff that is there. For example, some people, when we go there, what we do? We go and remove the stuff that is there. We may pluck all the leaves, break the branches of the trees. There is a word, a special word that we call for these sort of activities and these sort of people. We call the activity as you know, I will write it here, vandalism. Vandalism is this activity, right? And people who do these things are known as vandals. Now vandalism and vandals are words that are very familiar to you as you are from grade 11 mostly, because the first particular subject or the first particular unit is dealing with vandalism, right? So do not vandalize the property when you go to these places, right? Now what is related to this particular stuff, right? You can see that in this case, those who go on camping site must not harm Mother Nature is to do with leave it as you find it. So you should leave it as you find it, which means do not damage things. So that is what comes to this, right? Now what about this? An old vase from the 16th century. 16th century is very old, right? Has been discovered. Discovered is in Tamil kandupidittal. Discovered means kandupidittal. From the garden of the old temple. So in the garden of an old temple, they have found out, or they have excavated I write the word. It is up to you to find the meaning of excavated. Excavate. I write this word here. So what you have to do is, if you have a dictionary or something, take time and try to find what excavate is. Excavate. Try to find the meaning of this word. What is excavating? Right? I'm not going to give you the word away. So I just write here excavate. If you go through a dictionary and stuff like that, you will be able to find what excavate is. Right? Let's come back to our lesson. So they have found a very old vase in this case. Now children, now if you find something very old, it might be very interesting for you to find these things. Sometimes you might, when you are very small, let's say when you are like 2-3 years, you might have hidden some of your things in the soil. You might have dug a hole and put something somewhere. Or you might have done the same thing to your sister or brother. Or you might have lost something when you were small. Especially, let's say for example, you had a toy, which it can be a car or a doll or something like that. When you were small, you were carrying it everywhere, and suddenly you lost it somewhere. You could not find it. If you find it now, if you were to find it now, you will not believe. You will be very happy. Okay, and it will be very interesting for you. You might have a different perspective. So in that way, when you find an old vase, it will be an interesting finding, isn't it? So the 4 will be matched to F. A visit to the countryside can do wonders for us. It can help get rid of anger, depression and stress, says a well-known doctor. Now, even if you don't know any of these words, when you say doctor, it will help you to find 2 words in your brain. The first one usually is medicine, the second one is health. Suram, yeah. So when you want to say doctor, you know that it has to do with this particular activity. Right, my dear children? Now when you go to a countryside, for example especially a village area, you will not find a lot of pollution or lot of traffic, but rather you will get good air, good environment, good surrounding, good food. All things will be natural most of the time. So when you go there, you will be very relaxed. So it will remove your stress. You will not be depressed because you don't have to worry about falling in front of the vehicles, getting into accidents, or like being polluted. And it will also help you to get rid of anger. Because when you look at Mother Nature, if you look at the weave that it shows, subhanallah, it's really nice, right? So in that case, it will help you to get rid of anger as well. So what is the most suitable word for that? How to improve health. J.K. Rowling. Now J.K. Rowling is a very famous writer, and she is very known for a series of her books. You might have read the books, you might have watched the films as well. If I tell you Harry Potter, you know this stuff, right? Harry Potter is a famous character created by J.K. Rowling. So J.K. Rowling is the author of the Harry Potter books, the series, right? So she was the one who wrote all the series. And who did she write for? She wrote for children. She was thinking of children. But many adults read them as well. If you read or if you speak to your brother or sister most of the time, they might have read the book, but they might have seen the film, right? So remember that as well. So this has to do with loved by young and old. These books are loved. They like these books. Young people as well as old people, right? So you will write that particular heading C here, right? Now if you take 2017, right? 2017 also had the same structure. The same type of question was given to you. Now if you take this, you will understand Please excuse me. There seems to be a problem with right. If you take the test, you will be able to understand. It also has something similar to the previous condition. Let's go through this very fast in this case, because we already understood how to do this. The first one, a tribute to all actors and actresses at the Tower Hall. Now, what is a tribute? You find the word and the answer for tribute, and you will understand what tribute is. To all actors and actresses, the people who act were at the Tower Hall, not Town Hall in this case. So we call actors and actresses as stars, right? Usually. So it says stars brightening a cloudless night. Now look at this. Henry Ford is famous for founding the Ford Motor Company. If you take Henry Ford is a famous person, and he is famous for what? He founded the Ford Motor Company. Now you might have seen Fords all over the place, but this particular Ford is quite famous. I'm going to show a picture of a Ford here. If you take Ford car, now these are all cars made by Ford, right? And this car is quite famous. This car is quite famous, and we are speaking about these cars, right? Ford Mustang. So these cars were made by the Ford company. Now if you take Ford F-150, this is also quite a famous car. We call this Raptors. So Raptors are also quite famous in this case. You can search for Raptor, F-450 Raptor, and you will get these pickup trucks as well. So these are also quite famous in this case. Look, these are all cars made by Ford. These are all cars made by the Ford company. Good. Now, what is it to do with? Now, if you have a car, or if you have your own vehicle, it might be a car or a bicycle or a bike or a three-wheeler or a van or a lorry, whatever, it is easy for you to go from a place to another. So that is known as traveling. Rather than using the public transport, you have all your own transport. So number 2 is obviously to do with travel made easy for all of us, isn't it? So that's how you make the stuff. Now, a doctor says being out in the mornings. What do you mean being out in the mornings? In the morning, if you go out and stay in the sunshine, it will help you to get ample amounts of vitamin D. A doctor says if you go out early in the morning and find whatever the stuff that is given there, right? If you go out and stay in the sun outside, you will get enough amount. That's ample. Ample means enough amounts of vitamin D. Now, this has to do with A. Let the sun shine on you and be well. Let the sun shine on you and be well, right? Number 5. Drought in the dry zone has destroyed village life. Drought is where drought and famine go hand in hand. If you do not have water, there is no water, you call that as drought. If you do not have food, you call that as famine or famine, right? Let's go through these words so that I can just show you what they are. If you say drought, it has to do with no water. If you say famine or famine, it has to do with no food. Drought means there is no water to drink. Famine means there is no food to eat, because all the food has been destroyed. Right? I hope that you got the stuff there. Let us come back. Let's come back. Watch. Drought in the dry zone has destroyed village life. So I told you drought means no water, right? So that would be obviously missing water, our lifeblood. Use your own cloth bag when you go shopping. This is promoted in Sri Lanka nowadays, where polythene bags are abstained. You don't want to use polythene bags. So instead of using a polythene bag, use your cloth bag. So you will say no to polythene. Be a nature lover and say no to polythene. 2018 activity I am not going to do because it has also a similar construction in this case. So you might be able to do this. I'll anyway go through one or two stuff. For example, in this case what you have to do is you have to write the page numbers. Remember, you don't write A, B, C, D here. The page numbers are given here. You select whatever the page that you want to select and you write the number here. Right? For example, the human waste system is 37 to 40. So that has to do with water pollution. You write something similar to that. 2019, I have put the work here, and I hope that you would go through 2018 and 19. I'll give you a few minutes to go through 2019. I'm not going to speak right now. I'm going to keep silent and just go through 2019. I'll give you like 5 minutes to go through 2019 and mark your answers so that I can discuss it with you right now. Okay, so start your activity. Just mark these answers. Right, okay, let's go through your work, that what you have done so far. Test number 4 says that each underlined word in the following text is incorrect. So they have underlined some words. Have is one word, were, of, stopped and sadly. Now all these words are incorrect. So what should you do? Write the correct word here. Write the correct word in the space provided, and the first one is done for you. Okay, right, let's start. The grade 9 students of our school have planned to play a cricket match yesterday. Remember, my dear children, this has to do with grammar mistakes identification. So if you have the grammar and if you have some mistakes that you have made, so the best thing that you have to do is you have to understand what are the mistakes that are made in this case, right? Okay. So what is the mistake that is made here? Instead of writing had, they have used have. Now, my dear children, yesterday means it's in past tense, but the verb that is used here, have, is in present tense. So you have to convert this word have into the past tense of that verb, which is had. Okay. Okay, please hold on. I am going to change this mouse cursor into something like a bigger one, because the pointers seem to be a bit. Let's take something like extra large screen, and why don't I take like black extra large? Okay, alright, now this is clear, right? Isn't it? Okay, to play a cricket match yesterday. Everyone were present in time. Now when you want to speak about everyone or someone or no one, we do not say were. We will use the word was, W-A-S, isn't it? W-A-S is the word that should be presented there. However, just before a match, it started raining. Now, my dear children, when it comes to articles, let's go for your articles webpage so you might be able to get some ideas, right? There are 3 different articles here, right? Articles, you have a, then you have an, then you have the. These are the 3 articles that you get in English language. So when there is a vowel letter or a vowel sound, we will use an. For example, you can say an apple, or you can say an elephant, something like that. I'm sorry, an elephant. You can also say an hour. Why do you say an hour? Because H here is a silent letter, so the starting sound is a vowel sound, so you can say an hour, right? Similarly, if you want to say a, you can use a for anything else. For example, a bottle, something similarly, or you can say a chair. These are very things, classical things that you might know. Or we can even say a uniform. Why uniform? Because the sound that you get is what? The first letter sound is Y. Uniform. Uniform, isn't it? That's how you get the sound. So the first letter is Y. Then where do you use the word the? Now this is the problem that comes here, right? Where will you use the word the? Now children, when you want to use the word the is a definite article. For example, look at this example. I saw a dog. The dog was sleeping on the pavement. Now, why did I say the dog? Because in this case, I am speaking about the same dog that I saw before, right? So in 2 sentences, the first sentence I say I saw a dog. This can be any dog. But when you say the dog, it denotes that the dog that I have already seen, isn't it? So when you say the dog, it is something similar to this dog. So remember that as well. Now let's come back to our lesson here. We are speaking about the match, cricket match, right? So can you say a match? No, that is wrong. So we will say their match. He started waiting. They waited at least of 2 hours. You don't say of 2 hours. You will say at least for. F-O-R. They waited at least for 2 hours, but the rain did not stop. Now remember, you might argue, sir, this paragraph is in past tense and the word stopped is also in past tense. So why is it wrong? If you argue like that, we have an answer for that also. Now my dear children, did not is a past tense in simple form. I can go through that very quickly with you. Let's take these examples here, right? For example, I say I eat, which is it simple tense, or you can say I do not eat. So when you say I eat, it is in present simple tense. I do not eat is also in present simple tense. But this is a positive statement and this is a negative statement, which means we are not going to do that, right? Now look at this one. He plays, he does not play. Sorry, does not play, right? P-L-A-Y. Now why did I not write the same word here? For example, if you take this word, it is eat, the word here is also eat, okay. Here it says plays, but here I have written only play. Why did I not write S here? The reason is I have used this particular grammar rule to the word do. So instead of saying he do not play, I have done he does not play. He plays, he does not play. Similarly, look at this example. I am going to write I played, which means I have already done. The negation form or the negative form is I did not play. What happened here is, my dear children, instead of writing ed here for the negation form, I have used the past tense of this word, which is do. The past tense of the word is used here. Instead of saying do, I have written did. So that is why, as this is already in past tense, you do not have to imply the second verb as played as well. So remember, when you get something like did not, always use the stem verb or the base verb or the verb that you are most familiar with. So in this case, you can see it did not stop, S-T-O-P. They were very sadly. Now my dear children, sadly is an adjective, right? Is it? No, it is not an adjective, it is an adverb. So simply, if you want to go through adjective to an adverb, I'm sorry, if you want to go through an adjective to an adverb, you can say, if you have a word, it can be anything. If you say like beautiful, B-E-A-U-T-I-F-U-L, right? If you want to convert into an adjective, you will write B-E-A-U-T-I-F-U-L and you will add 2 letters, which is L-Y. So it will be beautifully. Similarly, if you write sad, it will be sadly, isn't it? So happy, happily. You get the concept, right? Whenever you want to convert an adjective and an adverb, simply what you use is you add an ly in the end. So children, adjectives are related to nouns. You can look at the video, my first video in our channel, and adverbs are related to verbs. Adjectives are adverbs, and if you really want to speak about this, if you want to speak about a noun and if you want to describe the noun, you can say, you can use an adjective. For example, a beautiful tree. A beautiful tree. In this case, for verbs, you can say he dances beautifully. So you are describing the action here. Now look at the word that is given here. They were very sadly. We are speaking about their feelings. So when you want to speak about them or their feelings, which are nouns essentially, you do not say sadly because it's an adverb. This is not a verb. They, as you know, is a pronoun. So as it is a type of a noun, you will use an adjective here. So they were very sad. At the end, they decided to play cricket on the following day or on the next day. You can say that. Now, so far, my dear children, starting from 2016, 17 and also 18, you might have seen the reading was given much of a preference in all these years. In 2019, the structure had been a big change where you have to identify a few mistakes and your grammar knowledge was tested. So it's much better if you can go through this stuff and get your stuff ready. It's not that tough. So what is given here, you should have a knowledge on your articles, prepositions and your tenses. Tenses like present tense, past tense and those sort of things. So if you go through this stuff, similarly you will understand one is an adverb adjective, right? So that is an adverb actually, where you have to use an adjective. So your knowledge in adjective and adverb comes in handy. Here your present simple and past simple tenses, isn't it? Here prepositions, here articles, here the verb forms of be. Be means be, right? And here have, has, had, which is similar to like perfect tenses. So all of these have to do with your grammar. So my dear children, I advise you take some time to go through your grammar stuff and get your grammar in order. So that is one of the main focuses of our lesson today. Similarly, if you go to internet, you can find, I told you that I will just show you whatever the stuff that I want to show you. In this case, for example, I wanted to make sure that that if you do not have the papers, you can visit sites.google.com/Vinhas Academy. You can go to this site, and if you go to this site, whatever the stuff that you are studying are given to you in these pages. There you have the content page and introduction, test number 1, test number 2, picture description, test number 4, and all those things are given here. All the videos are given here. You can go through the videos if you want one more time, because it's much easier for you. And also if you want to download past papers, 2016 past paper is given to you here, 17, 18, 19, all these papers are given to you here. So it's easy for you. In one particular site you may be able to watch the videos and download the past papers as well. Or you can get the past papers from eTakarao.com if you know the website, and if you can go and download from there, or donuts.lk, which is where you check your answers. Where you check your qisas, right? But anyway, to make it much easier for you, what I have done is I have created a site, sites.google.com/b/our academy, which is Vinhas Academy, and in that case you can go and download whatever the stuff that you want to. Also, if you go to our YouTube channel, which is, as you can see, I go to the channel youtube.com/Vinhas Academy. You can find whatever the videos that we are watching, and the videos are given to you here as well. Our yesterday's work is also uploaded here, yesterday's picture description, and all our short course videos are also given here. So make sure to come and subscribe to our channel. Click subscribe and like our channel, and also share the work with others so others may also be able to get the message in this case. I hope to see you again in another session, my dear children. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.